This deep dive is going to be a wild ride. We're ditching the usual AI headlines and jumping straight into the deep end. Artificial general intelligence.
Machines as smart as us?
Yeah, maybe even smarter. And get this, our main source isn't some sci-fi movie, it's this, like, report. But it reads more like a leaked memo from, the inner circle of AI development.
It's true. This is not your typical dry research paper. It's written by Leopold Aschenbrenner. He's a former OpenAI researcher.
OpenAI, that's like the big leagues, right?
Exactly. And the whole tone of this report is, well, it's almost urgent, like confidential. Like he's letting you in on a secret that very, very few people truly get.
He even calls it, get this, situational awareness, implying that most of us are, well, totally out of the loop.
Yeah, basically. Aschenbrenner goes as far as saying AGI, like true AGI, might be within reach this decade.
This decade, like by, what, 2030?
He actually says by 2027.
Whoa, okay, that's soon. So how does he even, back that up?
Well, he breaks down AI's growth in orders of magnitude. OMs is what he calls them.
Orders of magnitude. Sounds complicated.
It's simpler than it sounds. It's basically a tenfold increase, right? So when he's talking about how fast things are moving, he points to, for example, the jump from GPT-2 to GPT-4. That happened in 4 years?
Yeah, 4 years, something like that. But what's that in OMs?
He's saying it's like witnessing a preschooler leaping to high school level intelligence in those 4 years.
Hold on. Did you just say high school level intelligence in 4 years? That's insane. But what's fueling this crazy fast progress? What's making it go boom?
He breaks it down to three main things: compute, algorithmic efficiencies, and something he calls unhobbling gains.
Unhobbling. Okay, now I am intrigued. But first things first, compute.
Right. Compute is essentially the raw power used to train these AI models. Like massive data centers, tons of specialized chips. We're talking the kind of price tag that rivals launching something into space. And that power, it's growing exponentially.
So picture the International Space Station, but instead of astronauts, it's packed with computer chips just crunching data 24/7.
Exactly. But it's not just about throwing more computing power at the problem, although that's a big part of it. The algorithms themselves are getting smarter, more efficient.
Right, so it's not just a bigger engine, it's a better engine.
Exactly. These algorithmic efficiencies, they allow AI to get the same result with less power, which frees up resources for even faster progress. It's like streamlining a car engine to make it more fuel efficient.
Okay, I'm with you on that. So we're optimizing for speed and efficiency, but you mentioned unhobbling gains, and I gotta be honest, that sounds kind of ominous, but also super interesting.
It's a good way to put it. Think of it this way. These AI models, they're more capable than we realize. They have hidden potential, like untapped abilities, and we're just beginning to figure out how to unlock them.
Like we've given them this incredible tool, but they don't know how to use it fully yet.
Precisely. Techniques like giving AI access to tools, using something called chain of thought prompting, which essentially guides their reasoning. And then there's RLHF, this way of fine-tuning AI's behavior using human feedback. These are all essentially giving these models superpowers they didn't even know they had.
So we're basically giving them the keys to the car, teaching them how to drive, and suddenly they're winning Formula One races.
Perfect analogy. And the best example of this is AlphaGo. You familiar with that?
Oh yeah, the whole AI mastering the game of Go thing.
Right. It was trained on mountains of expert-level games, but then they had it play against itself. And that's when it really took off, making moves no human had ever conceived. Aschenbrenner suggests this same principle, this AI learning from itself, could be the key to unlocking those unhobbling gains in, LLMs.
So instead of us teaching AI everything, it starts teaching itself. And that's when things get really interesting, maybe even a little scary.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got these AI models learning at warp speed, becoming grandmasters of Go, maybe even starting to think for themselves. But there's got to be a catch, right?
Well, yeah. Aschenbrenner doesn't sugarcoat it. Even if we figure out AGI, it's not the finish line. It might be more like stepping out of the frying pan and into the fire.
Okay, now you're just messing with me, right? First, it's space stations full of computer chips. Now it's AI-induced infernos.
It's not quite as dramatic as all that, but he does suggest we could be heading for what's called an intelligence explosion.
All right, before we dive into that metaphorical fire pit, break it down for me. Intelligence explosion. Does this mean, robots are taking over the world next Tuesday? Should I be stocking up on canned goods?
You can hold off on the doomsday, prepping for now. It's not about robots taking over in a Hollywood movie kind of way. This intelligence explosion It refers to the idea that once AI hits a certain level, it could basically start driving its own research and development.
Okay, so instead of human scientists and engineers, we've got AI doing the innovating.
Exactly. Imagine instead of a few thousand researchers, you've got millions of AI agents, I guess you could call them, working 24/7, each one capable of designing new algorithms, analyzing data way faster than any human could.
Okay, now that's a visual. Millions of AI researchers. Just how much faster would progress be if that were to happen?
It's hard to even grasp, really. Think about it. We're talking about potentially generating like the equivalent of the entire internet's worth of text every single day.
Every day. That's insane. So it's not just about speed, though, right? It's
Yeah.
not just AI on fast forward. This would be different, right?
Absolutely. Remember AlphaGo and that Move 37 everyone was
Yeah.
talking about? That move, it signaled something different, something that went beyond human intuition.
So it's not just about AI being faster, it's about it being different, like
Yes.
smarter in ways we don't even understand.
Exactly. It could revolutionize fields like medicine, engineering, you name it. But, and this is a big but, that kind of rapid acceleration, it brings up a huge control issue. How do you control something that might be, well, orders of magnitude smarter than us?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. If we can barely keep up now, what happens when AI is thinking 10 steps ahead? Does Aschenbrenner offer any solutions to, the whole super smart AI might decide it doesn't want to listen to us problem?
He does touch on that. In fact, he seems to think that a government-led project might be our best bet.
Really? A government-led project. That's not usually the first solution that springs to mind when we're talking cutting-edge tech. It seems like everyone's always saying the government moves too slow, that it would stifle innovation.
Right, and Aschenbrenner acknowledges those concerns, but he argues that with something as big as potentially risky as AGI, you need that coordinated, centralized approach. He compares it to the U.S. government's response to COVID-19.
Okay, so in a crisis, sometimes you need someone to just take charge, cut through all the red tape and make things happen fast.
Exactly. He argues that a government-led project would have several advantages. First, tighter security, which he sees as absolutely crucial, especially with the risk of, espionage.
Yeah, he seemed really concerned about that, the espionage angle, especially when it came to, well, China. Remember that line about handing the CCP superintelligence on a silver platter?
Yeah, it was a pretty stark warning. And the second advantage he sees is oversight and regulation. With a technology this powerful, do we really want to leave it entirely up to, private companies motivated by profit?
That's a good point. But even with the best of intentions, don't government projects come with their own set of, well, risks? It's like every other AI movie out there, the project meant to save humanity ends up going rogue.
Right? There's always that risk. And the potential for bureaucracy, for things to get bogged down, for unintended consequences, is definitely a double-edged sword. But his point is, the stakes are so high, we can't just sit back and hope for the best. We need to be proactive. And that might mean, at least in his view, government taking a more active role.
So what do you think? This report really makes you question everything you thought you knew about the future, right? What stood out to you?
Honestly, the thing that stuck with me is Aschenbrenner's conviction. He's not just throwing out theoretical ideas. He's drawing a roadmap, a step-by-step guide to how AGI could happen, whether we're ready or not. It's a bit like watching a slow-motion train wreck. You see it coming, but you can't look away.
That's a perfect way to put it. And it highlights the urgency of the situation. We can't just wait for this to unfold. We need to start having serious conversations about how to manage this transition, how to steer this train in the right direction.
Absolutely. This isn't just about technology. It's about our collective future. What kind of world do we want to live in? What role do we want AI to play? These are questions that everyone needs to be asking, not just a few hundred people in Silicon Valley.
It's easy to get caught up in the hype or the fear surrounding AI, but Aschenbrenner's report really highlights the human element. It's about choices, about responsibility, about the values we instill in these powerful technologies. It's a call to action.
And it's a reminder that we're not just passive observers in this process, we're active participants. The decisions we make today will shape the future of AI and ultimately the future of humanity.
So what does all this mean for you? It's a lot to digest, I know. But if this deep dive has sparked even a flicker of curiosity, if it's made you think differently about the potential of AI, then it's done its job.
Stay informed, stay engaged, and most importantly, keep asking questions. The future of AI is not predetermined. It's something we create together.